Welcome back. Sorry.
I was going to say this might be episode 10, but I think it's 9. Dang it. We're so close. We're trying to get to 11. Welcome back. Utah Rental Property Insider. I am Parker Nelson.
Nate Kilpack.
And today we are going over why real estate is not a short-term play.
Yep. So we're going to be talking about 5 points. First being cash flow. It's not compounding.
Nope.
Sorry, cash flow. Cash flow is compounding.
It's not immediate.
No. Yeah, exactly. So most self-managing landlords, they're going to feel poor, cash poor for the first 3 years. And I felt that before owning rental properties early on. And then ultimately...
I got to agree. Most landlords definitely feel poor that first year. And that just changes with the market as well. Rents could be low. It could be equal to your mortgage payment, and you buy a house a month later, 2 or 3 things is going wrong, and all of a sudden you got to dump some more into it, right? And so that's where that 20% contingency kind of comes into play, though. You do want to keep in mind when you're buying a property, you're going to rent it out, keep a contingency just in case something pops up that you're not going to be aware of or have the funds from the get-go ready to pay for that, especially if you're just doing a long-term rental, only making a couple $100 a month. But
yeah, with cash flowing in general, the nicer the property you buy, the lower your cash flow is likely going to be. And so if you're just getting started and just buying maybe your first property, your first or second property or whatever it is, keeping that in mind, if you are trying to, not put a ton of money down when you are buying maybe a Class B property, something that needs work, that it needs work and things are likely going to break and need more maintenance. And so try to put that into your analysis for the actual property. You're like, oh, this cash flows. You may think that it cash flows like $200-300 a month, which according to Brandon Turner is a home run, right? If you can cash flow a few $100s a month when you're buying it with little to no down payment, which is hard to find in this market.
Yeah.
That you're also taking into consideration what likely is going to break in the next couple of years.
Yep. So. Yeah, especially you risk that with older homes, but even new builds. You can buy a brand new home 3 months in, a pipe burst.
They don't build them like they used to.
Don't build them like they used to. No, they don't. Plus, they're just trying to hurry up and build. So building quality is a little low. I actually have a story on that.
Yeah.
A friend in Vegas bought her first house, and it's crooked. Her floor is a little slanted.
Oh, awesome.
And they just found out the builders just built them quick. They weren't really caring. They just wanted to get the neighborhood built up. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I've reconstructed one of my properties, and the contractors that came in, I was watching this, so I was able to correct it before they finished. But one of the tasks was to redo all the subfloor and fix some of the joists, underfloor joists. And they were going so fast. They didn't level everything correctly, and we had to raise up some, shave some down, and they just go so fast and don't really, they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So, keep an eye on that.
Oh yeah.
It's point number 2 is appreciation isn't a strategy. So you've probably heard of this kind of term or talked about a lot. Just appreciation in general shouldn't be the reason why you're buying real estate, because appreciation isn't guaranteed. So whereas cash flow is just going to get better over time. So in all cases that I'm aware of, other than this kind of weird market where rent has gone down slightly, rent is always going to be steadily going up, sometimes a lot more than others. But if you're buying something with a fixed mortgage, your cost, other than your taxes and insurance and maybe some utility costs, if you're covering those, will be going up slightly over time, but usually not to the tone or the rate at which rent is going to be going up. So your margin is going to be increasing over time.
Yeah, especially if that 50-year mortgage comes into play, that slow grow appreciation is going to get smaller and smaller every year. But a way to think of it too is that at least it's like somebody else paying money into your savings account. It's not like you're buying a home and you're dumping that $2,000 to $3,000 into the mortgage. Somebody else is dumping that. So if you're not making the cash flow right away, eventually in that long term, at least somebody else is paying back into your pocket.
Right.
It's a good way to think about it.
Yep. Still wouldn't recommend the 50-year. But
I know. Yeah. No, the 50-year. I don't think it'll happen. Who
Yeah.
knows? We'll find out next year.
It's a
I guess.
political move, I think. So
Yeah.
for next point is tenant turnover, and then kind of the learning curve with all of that. So what are some like typical mistakes that a landlord could make in regards to tenant turnover and or like having a bad tenant or things that they need to change that way?
Definitely not properly screening. I think it's hard for just a land or a homeowner to screen properly. You know, we as a property management group are able to run credit checks, criminal history, things like that, where an owner probably isn't. They're probably just checking at bank statements or things like that.
Talking to previous landlords who may not be fully honest if they're trying to get the tenant
get them out of there.
Yeah.
And honestly, unless you're really looking into the pay stubs and bank statements, it's pretty easy to Photoshop these days.
Yeah,
you can
just ask AI to create something for you. Yeah.
And so that's definitely one. Or even honestly just posting in one space. Like posting in one, either Facebook or just Zillow or things like that. You know, they're not getting a range of people because they might not even know all the sites that you can post on, or like posting on a Facebook group rather than just posting on Facebook Marketplace or things like that. And so
and we cover a wide area geographically. We're all the way down in southern Utah or South Utah County, and then it goes south Salt Lake County. And each of those little sub-market cities are different as far as what's more effective for which platforms we list on. So we list on about 15 different platforms. And yeah, it's interesting to kind of see that, like the statistics around that this area in, you know, Draper or whatever is getting a lot more traffic from like a Zumper or, you know, something that's like kind of like different than we normally would expect from like a Zillow or like a local Facebook marketplace.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
yeah. Or even honestly with self-managing landlords, the handshake deals. Like, oh yeah, we discussed it. Yeah, no, we shook on it. And it's like, okay, well, next thing you know, they're moving in and, you know, either the tenant's making something up or the landlord's making something up. So it's like just having that documentation. Just always have it documented. Don't do verbal agreements or a handshake agreement. It will always end up in the disaster.
And being clear about what that agreement actually is and having that be up to date and according to Utah's current laws. So one change that was made recently was in being able to increase the late fee to 10%. So it's $75 or 10%, whichever is greater. So in this case, you know, $75 covers like a tenant that lives like close to campus or whatever. So it's going to be rent by the room kind of property. Whereas 10% is going to be, you know, a single family property, and you can max up to 10%. So the charging, you know, X amount of dollars per day, every day it's late. Yeah, it's nice to have like an incremental charge to be like, hey, every day you're going to be paying, but probably wouldn't recommend that. What we would recommend, and we're maybe getting off a little bit of a tangent, is if a tenant ever were to pay late, that you would charge whatever your next day is for rent is due. We have rent due on the 1st. It's late on the 2nd, so that late fee would be charged on the 2nd. The 3rd day is when we would place an eviction notice. So because all of our tenants are aware of this, they give us plenty of heads up. If they have to pay late, maybe they need to pay by the 4th or 5th or something like that. Sometimes that happens. Then they give us a notice before that so we don't go out and put an eviction notice on their property if they're going to be late. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, in your lease agreement, just be very clear about all of those things.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And number 4 is tax benefits. So this generally is going to be heavy-ended on the front end of when you buy your property if you're going to be doing a cost segregation, and it will benefit you for years after that. So if you do a cost segregation, then you can, it rolls over. So say you didn't utilize your full $150,000 of depreciation maybe you got from your bonus depreciation with your analysis, it will roll over to the next year. And then it'll also have additional depreciation. So say you bonused up to 80% in the first year, you did 10% the next year, 5% the next year, or whatever it is, then it rolls over. Something to be aware of, though, if you're doing a cost segregation and you're wanting to maybe sell the property, if you're going to be cashing out of that property, a year, 2, 3, whatever it is after that, and you do a cost segregation and you're not going to be 1031 exchanging it into another property, there's going to be what's called a clawback. So the government can come and take whatever benefit that they gave you. So say they gave you $100,000 basically for your cost segregation that you ran. They're going to be clawing back a lot of those funds if you're going to just sell and cash out. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. If you do a 1031 exchange, though, you can move all of your equity to another property without having any of that clawback.
I guess flipping would be the one way that real estate could be a short-term gain, depending on what the market's like, how fast you're going to fix and flip and turn it over and sell. A lot of strategies do the BRRRR method, where you buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat.
Yep.
Yeah. And that way, people take the equity out that they renovated because they now have increased the value of their home, and they take that equity to then buy a new rental property, and that's where the repeat comes into play. But even that method's a little long-term, but if you're just going to buy a house, take a month or two to fix it, and then sell it, that could be another way that real estate could be a little bit more of a short-term gain for you.
Yeah. Way more active of an investment, though. So with all of that, the biggest thing to keep in mind, and what we work with investors and have done ourselves, is just in your analysis, taking into account all of these potential risks with that. And if you're going to be doing the BRRRR strategy, which a lot of people think that in this market it's not possible, it still is. It's just harder to do, harder to find those properties. But sellers are becoming a little bit more desperate now. Properties are sitting on the market for a lot longer, so they're going to be willing to take a lower price. And maybe the key thing is to look for a property that has a lot of deferred maintenance. Maybe an owner has had it for a long time and they have just not kept up on the property, but just being really good in your due diligence of what actually needs to happen and what price you need to get it at in order to make it make sense. And it's going to probably be like 40% under market value in order to make it work. So
yeah, absolutely. And our fifth and final step, wealth is built and the hold, which I feel like contradicts the if the appreciation is only your only ROI, but at the same time, it's like the same thing we're talking about. If you just have somebody paying your mortgage, just barely covering the mortgage for 10 years, home's probably going to appreciate. What is the average? Isn't it real estate appreciates at 6% rate or something like that?
Utah's average is just above 5%, I think. But nationally, it's probably closer to like 4%.
Okay.
So I think we're in the top. Utah's in the top 10 appreciating states.
Yeah, population is supposed to hit something ridiculous in the next 10 years.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's likely that over the next few years, after kind of this slowdown, I'm guessing that we'll see another 5 to 10% increase in a single year. So I hope that doesn't happen for a lot of my younger siblings and other younger friends who haven't got into real estate yet. Sake, but yeah, what I think will likely happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you have it. Hopefully you learned something here and why real estate is not a short-term play. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share.
See you next time.
Bye.